thank you so much for doing the viewing and the listening. And I welcome you to your transformative program, Politics and Beyond. As always, your usual host, I'm Emmanuel, Engineer, the Chief Crusader Against Corruption, Ghana. This very moment is a mixed feeling for me, but we'll do the best that we can. In that, whether we like it or not, God has been very good to us, and we've been able to go through the entire year. Today will be the last episode for the year 2024, and truly, we've really done all that we need to do. If you look at how we started this year, the topics that we've been engaging in, with the focus being on helping you make the right decision in 2024 elections, we can to a large extent say that we have achieved our focus and our purpose for this year. And so we want to say thank you so much. I indicated as a mixed feeling, and it is just because I was coming with a high hope for us all to celebrate the end of the year. Just when on my way coming, my favorite uncle, who is more like a brother because of age difference, I was called on the way here that he died, or he's dead. And so I had to go and do the necessary things before getting in here. But whichever way it is, we still thank God for life. And we believe that whatever happens, it happens because God has a bigger plan for it. I want to thank you. Today, we have very important guests to help us as we continue with that same topic, what we should expect. And when we come from the break, I will introduce them to you. Before we even go to the break, there's one thing that is also happening even after the elections, and it has to do with the recollation of the some of the parliamentary seats. Just this Saturday, 2 days ago, there was some recollation which, strictly speaking, legally, it can be described as an illegal act. But we leave that to the judges and the courts to make a final determination of it. 5 or 7 of them were ruled, or overruled initially, as it were, in favor of the NPP. 2 are still hanging. And clearly speaking, these 2, for whatever reason, I've been so interested in those 2. And that has to do with Ablekuma North, and it also has to do with Dome Kwabinya. And I can tell you emphatically that with Ablekuma North, if you look at the evidence and the documents that have come, what I can tell you emphatically is that there's a likelihood for a re-election in that constituency. And so those over there should start preparing. That I can tell you for a fact, that there's going to be a re-election in that constituency. But whatever happens, we still give thanks to God, because the bigger picture is that we've done the best that we can as a country, and we have succeeded as much as we can. Last week, as I indicated, we were looking at what to expect. Today, we are going to look again at what we should expect, but it's going to be very specific. We are looking at what exactly needs to be done in terms of, the aftermath of the 2024 elections, and we are looking at what government system will help Ghana. We've been talking about this over the past period. Today we are zooming in, because that's exactly what we need. I need you to just relax, as always, call in your colleagues, your friends, your family members. Tell them that their favorite transformative program, Politics and Beyond, is on. Let them tune in. On social media platforms, you can start getting interactive with us using our WhatsApp message numbers as we have it on the screen. And at the right time, it will be, it will be read for you. Just stay tuned. When we come back, I'm going to introduce to you our very important guests that we have to help us have this conversation. I'll be right back.
Brakes, check. Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much. AutoChecks. AutoChecks. Check.
AutoChecks. Your safety, our priority.
Check. AutoChecks.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. Natural mineral water. Simply natural. For bulk purchase, call 0596 273 546 or 0596 273 547. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to your transformative program. I'm still your host, Emmanuel Jr. And as I indicated, today we are going to sum the entire year with all that has happened. And then right after, I'll introduce to you the topic for this evening's conversation or episode. Then I'll also introduce to you the guests that will be helping us to do this. They are joining you. You have always been the original guest. And so continue sending in your messages. Aftermath of 2024 elections, what are we expecting? This time we are looking at governance. What system or what kind of governance system do we need? What governance system do we need to help us as a country? And so you can share in your ideas and your topics, your questions, your comments, and it will be read for you. I want us to do a recap of what we've been able to do this year. The whole of this year we started, and that is exactly how we started. We started with procurement and corruption. We were looking at the public procurement and corruption, the way forward, because as I keep saying, one of the major avenues where corruption takes place in this country has to do with procurement. So we looked at it with our own Mr. Daniel Domelevo. Then came the reform of the 92 Constitution and excessive executive power. Who will bail the cat? And again, we were able to have Justice retired William Atuguba to lead us in that conversation. Then after, we had our own Dr. Ekospio Gabra, who led us through Ghana's youth unemployment, future leaders, or a real taken bomb. It was one of the interesting conversations that I personally, engaged myself in. I really enjoyed it. Then came again one of the topics that one of our guests here has always been so much interested in, and has to do with dealing with Ghana's winner takes all politics. And that also we had Nana Kwesi Jan Apenten being our guest, and he was able to take us through it so fantastically. Then also after that, we had the next flyer or the next episode, the state of Ghana's democracy, what's next? We had Dr. Justice Sremsai leading us in that conversation. So we talked about the current democracy that we are practicing and what we need next. After Dr. Srem came the next episode, which had to do with asset declaration and the corruption fight in Ghana. Our own Martin Kpebu, my brother and friend, who led us in this conversation. And I believe you remember all the things that we talked about. After that came the Fourth Republic. And we asked a simple question, whether we are on the right path. Because we really got to a stage in this country where all of us were confused and we wanted to review the Fourth Republic that we're having. And yes, we were privileged to have Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who is the national chairman of the NDC, that's the party elect, to lead us in this. And truly, we all learned a lot of things from it. Right after, we had Professor Frimpong Boateng coming in studio to help us with the challenges of developing Ghana's human resource capital under the Fourth Republican Constitution. And it was also one of the fantastic conversations we had on this platform. After Frimpong Boateng came the next one, and that is my own friend and brother, Franklin Kujo. We were also discussing the Fourth Republic, and we're looking at accountability and value for money in public resource management. And remember, it was also one of the most engaging conversation or episodes that we had. Right after, Martin Kpebu came back again to help us have a conversation on accountability of political leadership and the survival of the Fourth Republic. We needed that, and we really did had a good conversation on that. The next episode after this was Dr. Nyahu Tamaklu, where we talked about, again, the Fourth Republic, but we're looking at the rules and challenges posed by political apparatchiks on our democracy. And so we're looking at what we popularly refer to as the foot soldiers. We wanted to see whether or not they were posing some threat to the democracy that we are practicing. And yes, we went through it. Then came one of our own, and I'm sure very soon, probably from next year, you'll be seeing him as a co-host. And we are talking about Dr. Daniel Appiah. He led us into a topic known as reforming Ghana's 1992 constitution for a new era. And that is one thing we've been talking about over and over, that we need a constitutional reform. And that I agree. And I believe strongly that the new government that is coming in will have that strength and what it takes for us to go into this. After that, we engaged you. Remember, you were our guest. So we wanted your take on Ghana's Fourth Republic. And you really engaged. You gave brilliant ideas, suggestions, comments. Some of you asked questions. And I really learned a lot, just as I believe you also did learn a lot from this episode. Right after this, we went in to have my own boss, Bishop Dr. Susan Inti, who is the chairperson for Crusaders Against Corruption, taking us through a topic known as moving Ghana from a partisan vision to a national vision. And that is exactly what we need. And as we speak, we still need that. Ghana needs a clear vision. We don't need, yes, manifesto guides us, but the truth of the matter is it is not manifesto that develops a country, because manifesto's lifespan is just about 4 years, maximum 8 years. You don't need that to develop a country. What we need is a national vision. So Dr. Susan took us through. Then we had our own young man, as I call him, General Nunu Mensah. He just came to give us some historical perspective of Ghana, the past, present, and future of Ghana. Talked about what it was, what it is now, and what it ought to be. Right from that, we move on to the next episode, where we had, if we can look at the next slide, or the next one, yes, Professor Ransford Jampo. He came in to lead us through a topic known as democracy or autocracy. We were interrogating the facts. So we've really had some good times. So on this platform, Professor Jampo took us through that. Then we had again Dr. Daniel Appiah, and then Yayira coming in to help us understand a topic, a very interesting topic, gender equality in public sector leadership. Where is the equality? So we had that one too as an episode. Right after, we moved on to the next one. And you remember when all this hula balloon about some traditional leaders in this part of the country, Accra or Osu, I mean the Gans, they have gone to marry, or someone has gone to marry a minor, the person has not married a minor, and all those things. So we're also privileged to have our own Wulomo coming in to help us with this discussion, where we asked a simple question: how did I marry a minor? A factual journey through the Gadangbi tradition. He really took us through this, and I believe strongly that, and you will attest to it, right after this conversation on this platform, that hula balloon thing, you know, it all came to an end because we were able to appreciate the fact and what exactly it was. Right from then, we moved on to the next episode where we had, we were just looking at Article 78(1) and the fight against corruption in Ghana. And so we had Mr. Seth joining in, and then also Daniel Domlevo joining in. So the two were our guests, and they helped us to appreciate Article 78(1) and the fight against corruption in Ghana. From there, we moved on to the next topic, or the next episode, where we had Dr. Kwabena Donko. We were looking at the real facts surrounding the current doomsor. And then it was current because that was exactly what we're experiencing. And Dr. Donko took us through. And as always, on this platform, we speak the facts as they are, devoid of partisan politics. And Dr. Donko really took us through that. And it was such a wonderful conversation that we had. Right after, we had the next episode, which was again with Dr. Nyahuta Maklu, Ghana's Fourth Republic, the roles and challenges posed by political parachiki, because there was the need for a second round of it, you know, because you were requesting for it. So we had a second conversation on it. Then we went to the next episode where we had Dr. Bernard Atta. Those were the times when the rains were all over. We were looking at floods and road traffic in Ghana. What is happening? He took us through what was happening and the fact that we have lost it as a country because we have failed to adhere to the simple planning document that we have as a country. And so, yes, we were able to appreciate what was really happening. And that is the reason why every year we seem to be experiencing floods in this country or certain parts of this country, particularly when we get into the rainy season. From Dr. Bernard, we also went to the next episode where we decided to engage the youth. Beautiful one. Because we were tackling youth unemployment in Ghana and we wanted to hear from the youth themselves. And so we had Green coming in, and then we have Na also coming in. And the two really did justice to this. They represented the youth perspective, devoid of whether or not they are experts in the field or not. But I believe strongly we had a good conversation. After that, we got into the last quarter of the year where we were preparing to go into the election. So we decided to zoom in. And so we started with election 2024, the battle for your future. It was your future. Governance is about your future. We had a good conversation on that. Right after that, we moved on to the next topic, the next episode, which was, again, election 2024, securing your future. And this was actually one of the topics that I really enjoyed. Then we moved on to the Galamsey fight and its impact on the election 2024. And I remember clearly this was the episode where I showed you a member of parliament who unfortunately has won or retained the seat, telling us that, of course, he belonged to the MPP, and he was a coordinator of, how do we call it, Baumia's election, telling us that because of the coming election, if they decide to fight Galamsey, it will affect their fortunes. And so in his own words, ye enjoy Galamsey and ye enjoy Nochina. I remember that conversation that we had. And I remember pleading to electorates in that constituency that for that particular statement, they should make sure that guy doesn't win. Unfortunately, he won. But it's okay, all well and good. We moved on to the next one. Dr. Lord Gowans took us through repercussions of corruption, Galamsey menace in Ghana as a model. So we were focusing on the Galamsey. Right after Dr. Lord Gowans, we went to the next episode, speaking out against Galamsey, and that was Dr. Segbefia. He also took us through the Galamsey issue. Right after Dr. Segbefia, we moved to the next one, where we had His Excellency Dr. Ekos Gabra coming in talking on impact of corruption on economic development. Right after that episode, we got the next one, which was, the slide can, yes, we had the people say. This was actually the last, I believe, the last conversation we had before the election. I should think so, or no. Well, I don't think that was it. Okay, so we had more. So that came, and then after we had this one to 7 December's election, who should we trust? And Professor Jimfi really did a great work. So actually, this is actually the last episode we had before the elections. And it was deciding your future on 7th December. We had this episode on the 2nd of December, some few days to 7th December. So we all decided to go and decide on our future. And the response is what has happened. We have all seen it. I want to say thank you so much for being part of this journey. And thank you so much for allowing this platform to inform you to make the right decision. We have actually gone to make the right decision. And that is the most important thing. Today's topic, if we can have the flyer on the screen, today's topic, because I want viewers to appreciate what exactly we are going to talk about today. But we are looking at, as I indicated, we are looking at the aftermath of 2024 elections, what governance system will work for Ghana. Last week we started. Today we are continuing. It is going to go into next year for a period, and then we move on to the next focus. My guests this evening, they actually need no introduction. They need no introduction. Right, immediate left, mine left immediate is my own chairperson. That is my immediate boss. My immediate boss. That is Bishop Dr. Susan Inti. She is the chairperson for Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana. Bishop, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Yes, good to see you.
Ever looking young.
We thank God for that.
Bishop, I hope all is well.
All is very, very well in Ghana.
Good.
Yes.
Good to hear that.
Very well in Ghana.
Good to hear that.
I think a lot of the Ghanaians are happy, I believe, because they've made a decision.
That's right.
Those that abstained,
That's right.
they've got what we deserve.
That's right.
And we're looking forward to the next 4 years.
That's great. That's great. We are looking forward to the next 4 years, and it begins from now because we'll be talking about it. Then, my own brother, my friend. If I tell you how we met, it will amaze you. But I was there one day. Let me tell you, I was there one day, and then I got a call. I had then gone to do a radio program somewhere, and so I got a call. And when I got the call, I didn't know the number. The person calls me and says that I am so and so. I said, okay. Said, I've been following you. I admire your work. I love everything you do. For whatever reason, I listened to you today on so-and-so radio station. I said, okay. I think you went overboard. You did this, you did this, you did this. You should have done it this, I did this. I said, okay, that is really good. For me, I felt so humbled to know the fact that there are a lot of people who are watching what we do. And that is a strong reason why we can't go bad, or we just can't, be misled. Then later I got a call from Gempa that they are having a program, and I have been requested to be one of the guests. I think guest speaker also. I said, okay, how did you get my number? I said, oh, I got it from so and so person. I was like, oh, okay, the name sounds familiar. I called and I realized he's the same person who called to check me up. He was checking me. I said, oh, you see. So if when he called, I had been rude to him, that would have been it. So let's be very careful. Let's be very careful. And now he's more than a brother. I mean, he's more than a brother. Our relationship has become so strong. He's more than a brother. And I'm talking about no other person, someone who needs no introduction on this platform, someone who is going to be a co-host from next year, whether he likes it or not. And I'm making reference to your own, my own, our own, Dr. Daniel Appiah. Doc, thank you so much.
That big humbling introduction. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Good to
we
see
started
you.
the year. By God's grace, we are ending it together.
Certainly.
We are ending it together.
Positive note, very, very good note.
But I hope all is well.
All is very, very well.
That's great.
All is very, very
That's
well.
great.
I think one couldn't wish for anything better. In the same way that when things are not going on well and you engage with political parties as to how we can move forward.
That's right.
Those that listen to us through various forums certainly include the incoming government, the NDC, the current national chairman, many people. And so I'm very excited that many of the proposals that we made, which they actually put also in their manifesto, now they are incoming. And so we can only look forward to something very positive.
Before we even go into our topic, I will be asking you, the two of you, I'll be asking you your take on the outcome of the elections and what makes you think the results that we had, we had that results. Because for me, it is unprecedented. The difference is wide. Even under Rawlings's regime that we're seeing as a military and all that, we didn't have this kind of margin even in parliament. But you see, just like you said, one of the things that makes me so happy about the government that has won or the party that has won is the fact that we have been doing the anti-corruption crusade for a while now. And I can tell you emphatically that if there's any political party or government that has been so receptive to us and have not seen us as enemies, it is the current elected government. The outgoing government actually treated some of us as though we are enemies. When we were speaking the truth and we were trying to help them fight corruption, they were rather seeing us as enemies. And you remember when we had the opportunity to engage the now elected president to be, what's the name, John Mahama, I asked him a question, whether or not he's going to see anti-corruption crusaders as enemies or friends. And I did enjoy his response, that he said that anti-corruption crusaders are going to be seen as friends, partners in the fight against corruption. And unfortunately, this government didn't see us as such. So on that ground alone, I believe strongly that there seems to be some goodwill when it comes to fighting corruption as far as the elected government is concerned. And that is why I am so happy. I'm so happy that we have a new government that will be ushering in 7th of January 2025. And they have shown to us that they are not going to treat us as enemies. I believe the days of threats and all those things will be over. I remember some time back, early this year somewhere, I got to a stage where I said to myself, I need not be out of the house after 7 p.m. because of the threats I was receiving. And Madam Chair knows all of these things because of the threats that I was receiving. And you just can't be in your own country and trying to help defend democracy and be seen as an enemy, where 7 o'clock, wherever you are, you must make sure that you are home. You've locked yourself. House arrest. Anyway, so let me start with you, Doc. Doc, were you anticipating the result that we had?
There are 2 dogs here.
Okay, so for clarity purposes, I refer to her as Madam Chair. So Dr. Pia.
Yeah. Right, and so I think prior to the elections, all the polls, the credible sources and international organizations suggested that the NDC was going to win. But almost all the polls also predicted that it was going to be a very, very close contest. Not this kind of outcome, not this kind of gap that we've seen from the elections. And so many of us were expecting a very close contest at the end of the day. Although thinking of it could even maybe go to a second round, and then from the second round the NDC will win. But at the end of the day, what maybe many of us underestimated was the anger, the widespread anger in the system. maybe we didn't take seriously the warnings from Afrobarometer and others. That so many citizens, in some regions, even up to 50% of citizens were so angry with the current system of democracy that is being practiced under the current government, to the extent that they even wish for an alternative.
Right.
And so if we are taking that seriously, perhaps we will have actually factored that into the surveys. You know, but all well and done. The facts pointed to many of the surveys pointed to the fact that the NDC was actually going to win at the end, except for the die-hard NPP maybe poster who threw away all the signs and then wanted to do something to please their paymasters. Otherwise, all the credible surveys pointed to the fact that the NDC was really going to win. But not with this kind of tsunami exactly presence in parliament.
Talking of the tsunami presence in parliament, Madam Chair. So coming to you, what did you really foresee that we were going to have this kind of heavy majority in parliament? And remember also that even after the declaration, there seems to be this recoalition things going on. Now, what do you think will be its effect if it goes on the way it is going?
Okay, so I think it was a bit touch and go. We weren't sure that people would actually stand up against the greed, the abuse of office, the economic mismanagement, the lies, the nepotism, the corruption. You know, we were not sure that people were that angry that they would dump the party because of the behavior or the characteristics that had come over this time. So we were all wondering whether the real Ghanaians, the true Ghanaians, the citizens of Ghana would show up. And I believe that they did show up. We were also anticipating a lot of violence, a lot of underhandedness, etc. I'm part of the Eminent Persons Group for the Christian Council of Ghana, and we had to go to meet with the Chief Justice. We met with the NPP leaders. We met with the Electoral Commissioner, and, you know, talking about the preparedness of the elections, the peaceful elections, what were they doing to make sure that everything would go well. We met with the Commissioner of Police, the IGP. So everybody was on tenterhooks to, you know, to find out, or we were anticipating that there would be some shoving and pushing and violence, etc., etc. So we've come out very well. The Ghanaian citizen showed up. People who had never voted before went out to vote, and voter turnout was good. A lot of people say that a lot of MPP voters abstained or just didn't go to vote. Well, you know, they voted with their feet, and that led to the tsunami. And in terms of the coalition of the pink sheets, right?
Sure.
Well, we just have to wait and see. But even if those 9 constituencies, you know, go to MPP, we will still, NDC will still have a majority. You know, the ruling party will have a majority in parliament. Anyway, you know, I'm for good governance.
Right.
And sadly, the MPP was not about that. It was embarrassing, it was disgraceful, and it was shameful. And, you know, anything for good governance in Ghana is what we want, what any good patriotic citizen wants. We want a Ghana that we can live in, not a Ghana that we have to leave to go somewhere else to have a better life. We want that better life in Ghana. And we want to make sure that we have that better life in education, in transportation, in business, and that's what we need. So I'm looking for a better Ghana, to, you know, creating the Ghana we want together.
That's right. There's people talking about NDC having two-thirds, NDC not having two-thirds. Does it really matter?
I think it does. We were talking before about the fact that we need a two-third majority in the country, you know, in Parliament, to be able to push through a lot of the constitutional reforms that we've been talking about for the last how many years?
That's right.
We always come to this constitutional review point, and then everything falls down. You know, it just doesn't happen because we don't have that majority. This is the time that I believe God has given us a carte blanche.
Right.
And it's like it's a choice. Choose you what you want, Ghanaians. What do you want? And you can pay for what you order. And so we need clear guidelines, clear instructions, clear vision about where we want to go so that we can use the mandate that we have to get there. Otherwise, we will only have ourselves to blame that we didn't do what we needed to do, especially with all the things we need in, you know, constitutional reform that we've been talking about to death.
That's right. That's right. Doc, do you have anything to add to that? Why do we really need two-thirds? Doesn't matter, because what is important is just majority. Bishop is saying that it is important because we need that for reform purposes, which I agree to a large extent. I agree, you know.
I agree with her. Since the 1992 Constitution, you know, came into force, now many of us have seen many loopholes, you know, such as, I mean, the position and role of the Attorney General combined with Minister of Justice. You have a situation where majority of citizens now say we want MMDCs, that's Metropolitan, Municipal District Chief Executives, elected, but then the government, that's a certain government, unwilling to go the way that citizens wanted, and then the NDC currently being the minority, also lacking the numbers to push in the way that Ghanaians wanted. And so now with the two-thirds majority, it is as if God has given this country
A carte blanche.
that's kind of, I mean, the authority, the power, everything that this country or the leadership really needs in order to choose a better democracy.
Exactly.
Because if this opportunity passes and we are not able to create a better democracy, then we have ourselves to blame. And so it is more like choose before you this day which way you will go.
Exactly.
Either you go through a better democracy or you are going to implode and then go through the alternative that many African countries have gone and then gone down the hill. So the two-thirds majority is really needed because many of the constitutional reforms under the entrenched, non-entrenched provisions or clauses do not require referendum. All that you need is a two-thirds majority. And so we will urge the party to hold on to the two-thirds majority and to keep fighting to maintain it at the end of the day, so that we'll be able to push through.
Yes, please.
You know, I just wanted to say this because why we're saying that this is a moment for Ghana. And it's a moment that we have been praying for in our nation, that we will have these kind of mandates to do what is necessary. In a country, for example, like Belgium, you know, these developed democracies, we are finding that a lot of them are having coalitions, lots of independence. So to get that good majority is, you know, very, you know, it's nearly, you know, it's not happening.
That's right.
Belgium has not had a government for 5 months because because of the coalition, they can't agree for decisions to be made within the parliament, etc. We are getting to that place where people are now coming into the political space in terms of new parties, the third force, etc. And it's going to possibly, over the next few decades, erode the dominant parties if they are not careful.
Right.
And so this is the chance that we have. You know, we have lived to see it. It is today. It is now. So we need to take advantage of the opportunity during the lifetime of the opportunity and not throw it away, because we don't know when we will have such an opportunity again.
That's solid. That's really true. That's very, very, very true. So you see, what it means is that whether we like it or not, God has brought us to this stage in life as a country, and he didn't just give us the 2/3 in parliament for fun. He gave it to us for a purpose. The Afrobarometer report that we've been talking about over the past period, even on this platform, suggests clearly that majority of Ghanaians are losing confidence and hope in the democracy that we are practicing. It is not for fun. The next 4 years, if the 2/3 that God has given to us is not used to correct the wrongs, Ghana may not get an opportunity again. That's a fact. And so I want to also encourage all of us, especially the leadership of the elected political party, not to take for granted the 2/3 that has been given. And not say that we have overwhelming majority, so even if we lose certain parliamentary seats, it doesn't matter. It really matters. Every seat matters. The reason why you have the overwhelming majority in parliament, and not just majority in parliament, 2/3 in parliament, is for you to be able to save Ghana. Save Ghana's democracy and save Ghana's governance system. Yes. We have just 4 years to do that. And you cannot do it without having a clear 2/3 in parliament, or even some more seats beyond 2/3 in parliament. So let us protect the seats that we've won, and let us protect as a country the seats that are even in contention. Let's protect them. It is needed for a purpose. That is the best advice we can give from here. You wanted to say something to it?
Yeah, and we as the citizens of Ghana need to make sure that our MPs, our representatives are in parliament.
That's right.
Because bills, decisions are made 24/7. And you cannot afford not to be representing your constituency in parliament. Otherwise, you shouldn't be there.
You shouldn't be there. That is true.
You shouldn't be there.
That's very true.
So we as citizens need to make sure that our MP is representing our interests in parliament.
Doc, I mean, let's continue from there. So we go into the conversation, and I'm making reference to Madam Chair at this moment. Yes, 2 docs, I know. So, Madam Chair, Madam Dr. Chair. With all the troubles Ghana has gone through, with the current states that we have now, statistically, scientifically, all indicators suggest clearly that our democracy, our governance is not in its best of shape. What governance system will help Ghana moving forward?
Gosh, this is a big story.
It is.
You know, in terms of what governance system. We need transparency. We need accountability. We need good reporting. We need strong administrative systems. We need processes and procedures that work. We need people not to be afraid to call people out. We need to, you know, a lot of people have experienced life in other countries where things work. You know, you don't have to, you register a company in the UK and you get the certificate and the directors and the Table A regulations within 1 hour, 2 hours, online. They send it to your inbox. You know, we need to up our game. There are so many things that need to be, you know, the processes need to work. Because, you know, electricity, we've got this recently, I just saw it today, that there were issues with the ECG and what kind of system or structure do we have in, you know, for ECG. Simple. The simple structure that we need is a government and public shareholders arrangement so that the people and the citizens of Ghana are involved in running the electricity company of the nation. When somebody is stealing cables in Kukrantumi or in Pantang, the people in the constituency will be the same people who will pull that person up because they have a vested interest in the company. Electricity is a basic utility that we need in the country. We can't be held to ransom as citizens of Ghana for basic utility like electricity, basic things like water. We need to make sure that people have interests in it, not just a few people like in the PDS scandal, PDS. Yeah, the
PDS
Crusaders
scandal.
Against Corruption.
Yeah,
we
brought it
had
out.
big issues in 2019. We wrote so many press releases.
Yeah.
We had engagements with media, etc. Because a few people wanted to control the company, and if you worked out the amount of profit that they were going to make daily because of ownership of that, it was out of order, totally out of order. We need a situation where the government will partner with the private sector. People in Ghana can buy shares in the energy company so that they have a stake in it. Somebody in Tamale, somebody in Takwa, somebody in Volta, in Ho, everybody will be focused on how we are going to make sure that the governance systems and the processes and the procedures within that company are working properly. You know, so we need to make sure that we give, you know, COVID brought Ghana into the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
Because standing before COVID, you will be wondering, how are we going to, you know, get into this fourth industrial revolution in education, in work, in business, etc. With COVID, we were thrown into the fourth industrial revolution. Everything had to go online. And this, for the ECG, is a test case for Ghana. Are we ready to give Ghanaian citizens the opportunity to grow in business, to become a partner in businesses that are effective, you know, within the country, float, you know, let people buy shares and float it on the stock exchange, the Ghana Stock Exchange, and let the people of Ghana be monitoring the share price.
That's right.
And let the directors be appointed by the shareholders, you know.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that we need to see happening. Especially now that we are standing at the brink of this decision that needs to be made. We don't want everything to be done quietly behind closed doors. No, we are interested and we are in this together, right?
That's right.
And we are building our country together.
That's right. Dr.
We want
Appiah,
to be involved.
we have to be involved. We must be involved.
We are all involved.
We are all involved.
We are all
It's very, very important. We are all involved. No one should be left out.
No one left out. Everyone matters.
I agree. Dr. Appiah, yes.
When Madam was talking, I was like, was she hiding in my room?
Are you serious?
When I was conducting surveys and putting all these things together. Because everything that she's talked about, from the surveys I have done today, just for this program alone,
That's right.
those are the things that people are saying. These are the things that we need for our governance to work.
Transparency,
The
accountability,
transparency, the
good
accountability,
reporting.
all those things.
So you see,
And
the citizens
yes,
they know.
They know. Now, for our kind of democracy, I keep saying this, that if you look across Africa countries, Ghana has the shortest tenure given to the executive and parliament, which is 4 years to deliver development. It's only Ghana and Nigeria that have got this 4 years. You don't find this in Asia. In Africa, the 54 countries, only Ghana. When you have a system like this, now the mechanisms of governance that you need to make this work is strong accountability mechanisms.
Exactly.
And I'm very, very happy that the NDC got it spot on. When on its manifesto, accountability was put as one of the strongest things or the strong pillars that they will focus on if elected And God being good, now they have the power.
Yes.
And so it is very, very important that they focus on building very strong institutions and mechanisms of accountability. Exactly. They have to build strong mechanisms to track progress in terms of development projects, reporting at the end of the day.
Yes.
And they also need to build the mechanisms that take seriously the voice of citizens. The voice of citizens. The voice of citizens, not just a voice sitting on the media, a voice sitting on radio, but across all the MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. When citizens go there to transact business, is there a mechanism through which the citizen can file a report or a complaint if something is not going right, or can make a recommendation for something to be improved? Thankfully, during the past 3-4 years, there has been a World Bank project that has tried to build that kind of mechanism, but the project has ended, the money is finished, but then all the mechanisms that were being built also have not been completed, but the one is finished. And so this is the right time for this incoming government now to come and then continue. Within each ministry, department, and agency is a client service unit. And then they have created an electronic system that takes input from the citizens as customers. Where a citizen is not happy, the citizen can then transmit it directly to the Public Service Commission. They build service there at the end of the day. But the service are yet to be connected to the ministries, departments, and then the agencies. And then the Public Service Commission picks it up. If there is a negative report that's been filed by a citizen, they have to call the director or whoever is the head, and then the relevant officials to come and then report. This makes it very, very effective for the government and the incoming government to have a centralized unit where they can track performance and where they can improve service delivery. That is one of them. The other area where the incoming government will need to focus on is to strengthen the internal auditing mechanisms.
Right.
The bill has already gone through various stages, and then Cabinet okayed it for it to be passed.
But
as to whatever made the current government to be afraid to pass or to create an independent internal audit mechanism that will check public officers, we don't know. But for 4 good years, it is back and forth between cabinet, executive. And thankfully, if you once again read the manifesto of the NDC, it is one of the things that they say that they will focus on at the end of the day. And so within the 120 days, they shouldn't lose sleep in getting this passed. So accountability mechanisms need to be strengthened. The voice of citizens need to be strengthened to make this system of governance work. The third area that I want to focus on is an area that many have really neglected. Ensuring that women are empowered in public sector leadership. If you look at appointment as chief executive positions, appointment into boards, into corporations, appointment into many of the top level echelons of this country is almost filled by the men. Occupied by men. There are just few positions given to the women. But if you look at the performance of women, check the state ownership report, you see that the women has performed the men in managing our state enterprises.
We've talked about it here.
They've transformed many of these poor performing state enterprises into profitable ones. And so this is the time that we expect the incoming vice president, Professor Nana Jane, to lead that kind of crusade, to put women at the center and make sure that what is due women is given to them when it comes to the center of leadership. No longer should women be pushed behind at the end of the day, because they have proven that if given the opportunity, really they will deliver, not just deliver, sometimes they deliver even better than the men at the end of the day. So we need to strengthen these mechanisms at the end of the day.
That's very important.
Yes, in order to move forward in the right places.
There's this conversation that we've been having, and a lot of Ghanaians seems to be so much interested in it. Initially, people were banking their hopes on a third force, a third movement, saying let's do away with the duopoly, the NDC MPP duopoly. But truthfully, if you look at the result that came from this just ended election, it is so clear that the duopoly will be on for a long while. You know, people make the argument that with this overwhelming majority in Parliament, probably one of the things that needs to be done or considered in line with reforming the Constitution has to do with this winner takes all issue, where we need to probably move away from winner takes all and reform the Constitution to present a proportional representation form of government. I don't know what you think of that. Doc, let me start with you.
Right. So it is an idea that has been floated for quite a long time.
Yes.
And also because if you look across Europe, you will see that the Western European countries have a system of governments that promote this proportional representation.
Yeah.
From Germany to Sweden to Norway to Finland, you find 2 or 3 governments or 4 political parties, 2, 3, 4 political parties always forming that kind of government. It creates that system of checks and imbalances at the end of the day. Even only if we will be able to create that and then distribute the share of votes according to the proportion of the percentage of votes that a party obtained in the elections and distribute the seats in parliament according to that particular kind of system, it will be okay. But for now, at this particular juncture, what is needed is what God has given Ghana. The overwhelming 2/3 majority that has been put in the hands of the incoming government to transform the landscape and make sure that what will make Ghana a thriving democracy, a thriving economy, actually happens at the end of the day. And so, yes, the issue of proportional representation speak to the heart of the speak to the issue of creating checks and balances. But if the incoming governments can use the authority to create independent bodies and strengthen the independent bodies, for instance, I mean, why should an independent auditor general be asked to proceed on leave when he's doing the right thing?
Exactly.
And when he proceeded on leave, the one who came, did he issue a single surcharge? No. And so our independent accountability bodies like the audit service, this is the time that the incoming government must strengthen this kind of positions.
Yes.
The NCCE, certain out there, has been weakened at the end of the day.
Nothing happened.
Trash, certain out there. You know, so at the end of the day, it is important that we need to create the internal checks and balances that strengthens public accountability, so that political elite will have the fear of God in them, that they are not going to wait for 4 years to be voted out. Whilst you are in office, if you steal a dime, if you take a peswa that does not belong to you, there are independent bodies that will deal with you. And that is what has been missing from our governance system so far. All the reports and everything ends up on the desk of the Attorney General, who is a member of the ruling government, and he decides whether or not to prosecute. But if we can use this 2/3 majority to create more independent systems of accountability, I think Ghana will really become the star, the black star of Africa, that Nkrumah actually envisaged. Because we are not poor in terms of natural resources. We are not poor in terms of the financial resources. It is the fact that when we get the money ends up in people's pockets, the pockets of party financiers, and because they know that the Auditor General, the Attorney General have been appointed by the certain government, nothing will really happen to them.
You know, when we talk about accountability, you know, we are talking about accountability across board. We want to know how our money is spent. You know, not people giving money to people under the table with no receipts, keeping money under the beds. Every single penny that the government has belongs to the citizens of Ghana. I want to know where my peswa is going. I want to know where my 10 cedis is going. I want to know where my 100,000, 1 million, 10,000, I want to know where it goes. And you know, if you are a public servant, that is exactly what you are. You are serving the citizens of Ghana. You are not enriching yourself. And you know, one thing that I find very offensive in Ghana is when somebody says, oh, I'll chop small. I mean, excuse me.
Let me chop small, huh?
What is chop small? You know, you are a laborer or somebody doing a job is entitled to get paid. Yeah. So let them get paid. But when you say chop small, you know, it's like having one cake and then you determine the kind of slice you want in the cake because you have, you know, you are in control of the cake. Right. So we have a system that is very, it can be very offensive because it is not okay to take money that belongs to a village or a town or a city or a municipal assembly and put it in your back pocket. That is corruption. And I think we need to call a thief a thief. You know, we are looking for so many different adjectives. You are a thief. You are taking money from the municipality. You are taking money from our roads. You are taking money from our waste systems. And, you know, sometimes when we talk about politics, we are talking right up there as if it is just about the politicians. It's about the administrators in every government department. It is everybody who is, you have to pay to buy a form that should cost 50 cedis and you have to pay 150 cedis for the form because of the administrator. That is theft. And we need to stop that. We need to call a spade, not a digging implement. It's a spade. So we need to have this kind of culture. We have to change, crack the culture code. We have to change what is normal in Ghana. It is not normal. When I go to get a building permit, I am told to pay 50,000 cedis and then 50,000 to the Ways and Means Fund. Otherwise, I'm not going to get my building permit. That is out of order. That is theft. That is not going into the consolidated fund. That is going into administrators' pockets. This is why the Ghanaian people have stood up and voted out the government, because corruption under the previous government was, you know, with impunity.
You mean under this government, because the government is still in...
yes, it was with impunity. Nobody, you know, everybody was doing what was right in their own eyes. Yeah. And everyone was getting away with murder. And we need to have people who will write people up, who will do the right thing, who will enforce the right thing. Because we can have a lot of, as you said, we can have a manifesto that says everything. But at the end of the day, who is going to make sure? Who is going to enforce the law? Who, isn't it our police force? Isn't it our judges? Isn't it the people that are supposed to be running the ministries, that are supposed to be ensuring that they are doing, the people under them are doing the right thing and not extracting money from everybody for just ordinary things? So, you know, we have to dig up some things, you know, and I'll go back to the Bible. In Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 10, it talks about uprooting, breaking down, tearing up before you build. There are things that we need to uproot, tear down, break. You know, we can't just, you know, there's this thing about putting new wine in old wine skins. Yeah. We need to get new wine in new wine skins. There needs to be proper auditing of all ministries. Auditing, getting people's job description, making sure that people are doing exactly what, not that they are supposed to be at work, but then they are moonlighting somewhere else. You know, there's so much that needs to be done in our country. And I think, as we are saying, God has given us a mandate. Right. God has given us a blank canvas. Yes, there will be issues, challenges, debts that people have collected that we will be responsible for. But even when that, in the book of Kings, when the widow, the husband died and the creditors were coming for her children because the husband owed money, God had a way of delivering her. God gave her a plan and a strategy, and our prayer is that God will give His Excellency John Mahama the strategies, and his team the strategies to deliver us from evil, to deliver us from debt. And God has a way, you know, God, as we said, God is the one who brings people into power. And if He has brought you into power, that means He has a way for you to go. And, you know, looking at the manifesto, it's amazing. It's wonderful. We were looking at the first 100 days, and we were looking at the 120 days, and we're looking at the restoring good governance and fighting corruption. Fighting corruption is like, it's a battle. It's a war that we are fighting, but we need to dig deep, and we have to uproot, you know, because otherwise we won't get to where we need to go to. And as we said, it's 4 years, and we need it, then they need to make an impact.
Right. Before you go to the messages.
That's right.
So one thing that I've seen also, which inspires me and encourages me so much, is the fact that you find this kind of unity of message across board from the incoming government. Mahama talked about the fact that Ghanaians should brace themselves for severe reforms.
Sure. Yes.
You listen to Chairman Esiedun Ketia. He talked about the same thing.
That's right.
The last campaign that they did at Medina, and then after the elections. You listen to Kujeto, they are talking about the
same language.
The same language. So it is not like they don't really know, or there's some kind of disunity about which way to go. They know clearly exactly which way to go.
That's fantastic.
And it is the way that at the end of the day, when you see this kind of commitment, this kind of collective kind of path, it really inspires, you know. So we hope that at the end of the day, come 7th January 2025, as soon as the baton is given to them, they will run with it as quickly as possible, because 4 years is very, very short around the corner.
Okay, please.
Just quickly, you know, when Doc was talking, I was just thinking, and you know, I have to go back to the Bible. You know, when it talks about the Tower of Babel, and their language was the same.
Right.
And even God in heaven said, hey, I have to confuse their language. Otherwise, these people will do everything that they have planned to do. So, you know, we thank God that their language is the same, and we pray that they will continue with the same spirit of unity, and you know, to build this better Ghana together that they have.
That's great. We have about 8 minutes.
My goodness.
Yes, I know. And in fact, you know, the show is supposed to end at 9. But if you look at the time, we are going, and the producer was kind enough to give us extra 20 minutes today. Right. So we are ending at 9:20. And so if you look at the time, we have just about 8 or so minutes. I have 2 questions to ask before I go to the messages. I'll just ask the questions for you to put your thoughts together, and then I go to the messages and I come. The first one has to do with the tenor. There are those who are making the argument that for us to have an effective governance system that will reflect in us having a good country, we need to review the number of years that the president has. From 4 years, others have the mindset of moving it to 5 years. Others are saying it must be moved to 6 years. I will need your takes on it. The second one is, you know, one of the key things that is affecting our country's development, and consistently we've been talking about it, has to do with corruption. So the next question that I will also want your takes on it has to do with how do we effectively take out corruption, particularly in government institutions as a country. Now, let me go quickly to some of the messages that have come in. And this is coming from Nana Jan Apentin. Uncle, thank you for doing the viewing. Nana Apentin is also not a stranger to this platform. He says, these elections, like previous ones, show that Ghana is solidifying as a duopoly instead of a democracy. The solution is to introduce proportional representation and partisan elections at the local level. So he has made two proposals. Partisan elections at the local level. The second one is proportional representation. That is what he said. Now, the other messages that we have here. Mr. Wilson, the president-elect should and must desist from being called a nice man. They should not repeat the mistakes of Atamils by maintaining the current Chief Justice, IGP, and the chair of Electoral Commission, and also the CDS. If they are, I can tell you on authority that NDC is heading towards doom and catastrophe. All right, you didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. What about house renting issue in Ghana, especially in Accra? Here, people are doing things because of rent in Accra. Here, please, John Mahama should please look into it for us. Thank you. I agree with you. You also didn't add your name. This one says, Mr. Wilson, our problem in this country with regards to governance has to do with winner takes all government. And that is really true. Secondly, appointing majority of MPs as ministers, weakening the role of legislature to scrutinize the executive. And that I agree. Thirdly, allowing the president to appoint leaders for key state institutions like IGP, EC chair, Chief Justice, CDS, etc. And this is from Moses in Kwanta in Oti region. Moses, you've just reflected my mind. I mean, that is perfectly true. Especially the second one, that is appointing majority of MPs as ministers. It weakens, I don't know the rationale
what's the
for
option? What are the
so
other
the
options?
Constitution says that you need to appoint, I think, 50 plus 1 of your ministers must come from Parliament. Legislature is supposed to be independent and a guide. They are supposed to check the executive. Now you are bringing most of them from the legislature to be part of the executive. How can I be an legislature and I'm supposed to play the role of a referee, and at the same time I'm part of the executive, being a player? You know. So I agree. Exactly. It is something that we need to so the 2/3 that we have should be able to take care of this in Parliament. They should be able to do this kind of reform. So yes, Moses, that is a great one. This is Musa Abattoir in Asawasi. Musa, thank you. The illegal recollation that occurred on Saturday is unsustainable and will not hold for long. There's no provision in the CI that permits the EC to engage in such actions. This cantata-style declaration is bound to be overturned in due course. The rules of engagement are clear. Once a declaration is made, any aggrieved party must seek redress through the courts, not by conducting a recollation. The EC have exhibited enough bad faith and bias towards the NDC. The future is pregnant. This is from Musa Abattoir in Asawasi. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I thank God has heard our prayers as a nation on the election of Mahama. I pray the good Lord grant him the wisdom to change the mess created by this Nana Addo government. By the way, a regular listener of this program. I'm a regular listener of this program. Congratulations to you and to the panel members that you have. Reverend Justice Aposaho. Yes, Reverend Justice, thank you so much. You've always been a regular listener, and not just a listener, a tester. Thank you so much. Hello, I am Edwina from Winneba. My grandma and I never miss your show. We love it. Keep it up, Ima. Thank you so much, Edwina. And my love and a Merry Christmas to your grandma. Anytime I'm in Winneba, I'll surely look for you. Thank you so much. This NPP government has nothing to offer Ghana. I'm Abdullahi Mumuni from Kumasi. Good evening, Openyi Emmanuel. I am Reverend Dr. Graham, the Peace Chief Ambassador resident in Kumasi. I'm fully being blessed of your program. Enjoying Bishop Dr. Susan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Reverend Doctor. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I am Efo Robert from Kwame. No. Okay, so good evening, Mr. Wilson. Efo Robert Kwame Senu is my name. All right, that's right. I hope beyond the politics, we have to keep on reminding the president-elect when he finally takes office, when he is going astray, so that the trust that the people have in him, he should be honest with us and make sure his appointees don't live extravagant lives while the institutions in Ghana suffer from many infrastructural defects. Thank you. Thank you so much, Efo. That is true. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. It isn't that MPP did not know that they would lose the elections. They knew, but they were manipulating things to rig the elections, which did not go well with them. They used all parameters to rig, but all eyes, both locally and internationally, were on them. That is right. You didn't add your name. Good evening, Dr. Daniel Appiah is making my day. Thank you. God bless you, politics and beyond. God will protect you and give us long life and prosperity. But MPP should know that not only one woman gave birth to a vagabond by Abubakar. Okay, Abubakar. Thank you from Northern Region. Thank you for doing the listening and the viewing. John Mahama has the opportunity to rule Ghana with the kingdom perspective in order to make a difference in line the expectation, maybe in line with the expectations of Ghanaians. You didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. My name is Nathan. Testing from Adan. The submissions of your panelists are apt. Our institutions must work effectively to benefit every Ghanaian citizens. This show is top-notch. Thank you. Education on governance lives here. Education on governance lives here. Indeed, it lives here. Kudos. Thank you. Thank you so much. Madam Bishop, please, can you take up the office of Shraj? If you wouldn't mind sharing your phone contact with me, I need to learn a lot from you. And this is Simon. All right, Simon. The next administration should also investigate Ghana Health Service, especially the regional and district health directors. Organizational looting in this country is too much. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Good evening. I'm Richie from Ebura, Cape Coast. I have been listening to both NDC and MPP in their campaign, and after NDC won this election, I haven't learned from both political parties to implement proper perspective and mechanisms to make our agricultural priority. Ghana is here to make even a crop as our priority production. Look at Togo and Burkina Faso. They keep exporting tomatoes and cattle into various countries. Our leaders need to back up. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Dr. Appiah, I appreciate your immeasurable and immense input. And this is Emmanuel, a past student at MPhil level. I'm sure his speech should be your student. Okay, there are so many messages coming in, but yes, my producer has alerted me that our 20 minutes is up. Doc, quickly, yes.
Just a quick one on the tenure of office.
Exactly, tenure of office.
First, thankfully, both President Kufuor and then President Mahama have raised the issue.
Yes.
President Kufuor advocated that someone is mentioning Benin and then Togo.
Yes.
None of them have got 4 years at the end of the day.
Right.
And all the countries that have been able to transform their economies from developing to middle and then developed countries had a longer tenure of office, at least 5 years. I said you won't find 4 years in Asia, even across Africa, except Ghana and Nigeria. So it's a conversation that's really the political elites need to have at the end of the day. And I'm very happy that from the NPP camp, we have President Kufuor on board. He's been present before, and then from the NDC camp, Mahama is also on board. That there is a need to look at the tenure again. How do we face corruption at the end of the day? There is consensus on this, that to face corruption in a developing country, there is no other way than to have independent institutions of public accountability. No two ways about that. And so it is very, very important that they really strengthen the office of Auditor General, and then they really merge all these plenty institutions of accountability, the IOCO, OSP, TRA. They have to find a way of creating a more powerful independent institutions of public accountability, as we've seen being done in the countries that have successfully dealt with corruption. And then there is another solution that has also been advocated, which has been accepted by the NDC party in their manifesto, that there is a need to create special courts, high courts, that will speedily deal with cases of corruption flagged by the Auditor General and then other institutions. And so we hope that if that is done, and they don't have to now wait for an attorney general or some political office or holder or some president to now issue the green light for you to go to court. But the auditor general can just go to court and then prosecute case of corruption. We believe that this country will be able to deal with corruption. Well. And this is what has been done across many countries. The recent study by the World Bank on the most effective supreme audit institutions across developing countries clearly showed that those that have got high levels of autonomy in prosecuting cases of corruption are the ones that are very, very effective. And Mr. Demolevo and others have got this kind of knowledge and report up there themselves, so we can do it.
Yeah.
Bishop.
Okay, in terms of the tenure,
yes.
One thing that I've learned in life is stability releases ability. You know, you can't do very much if when you get your feet under the table, it's time to move on. And so I think stability will bring, the stability in governance, enhanced policy implementation with a 6-year term. They can initiate and execute complex policies, focus on long-term strategy, not just what are we going to do for the next 4 years, and then, we are leaving anyway. So it'll give the administration time to plan, to get in and do something substantial. Also, the amount of money that we spend on campaigns, every 4 years, it's like, it's crazy. The amount of money spent on billboards, it's madness. It could fix half of the problems in the country. Half of the problems in the country would be resolved if we weren't just throwing money at this campaign.
That's right.
So reduced electoral pressure, encouragement of accountability and efficiency, a sense of ownership and responsibility, strengthened executive authority, strengthens the executive branch of government. And there's so many benefits to having a longer tenure. I mean, obviously, if it's a bad president and they're messing up, we have to have, obviously, the way that we can get rid of them. And then in terms of corruption, it's auditing, reporting, it's doing the work. It's having people whose eyes are on the ground, and it's kind of like a supply chain. It's from the person at the bottom of the hierarchy to the person at the top of the hierarchy. And everything rises and falls on leadership. If the leader is corrupt, the people on the bottom, it's like, forget it. You are as corrupt as me, so you can't even hold me to account.
That's right. That's right.
I can
That's
hear your
very true.
executives.
I tell
anyway,
you.
greetings to my in-laws,
yes,
Mr. and
quick
Mrs.
one, that's right, yeah.
Greetings to my in-laws, Mr. and Mrs. J.K. Down. So they never miss your show. They are in Cape Coast.
Thank you so much.
So,
Thank you so much.
I just finally, I will say that I am very happy that I am seeing what is happening in my lifetime. I
Yes,
never,
it's amazing.
Thought that
It is
we will
amazing.
have a party with a two-thirds majority to pursue
Yes.
this transformational change that
Exactly.
we've all been calling for. And so I will humbly call on President-elect John Mahama and then his team that they need to take this God-given opportunity seriously and not let Ghana down, so
Yes.
that Ghana can once again become that transformational country that we were at independence. And so I am grateful.
Thank
for
you.
it.
So
Yes.
just a second from both of you, then we wrap up. A second or two. We are ending the year, and this actually, we are in the 1 year anniversary of Politics and Beyond. Any words, wishes?
I think that Emma, you've done a great job. And this is one show that I think should even have won. If there is going to be, awards for the best political show in Ghana, because it is not just a show, it's a program that brought the minds of the most influential men and women in this country to sit here to profess solutions to our development problems. This is not some partisan-oriented kind of a program. No, it's a serious program. And so I would say that you have to continue doing what you are doing. I pray for a bigger studio that can sit more going forward at the end of the day. But keep on maintaining the anti-corruption fight, and then the program will become certainly something that other countries will also come in.
Thank you so much. Madam Chair, Dr. Bishop.
You know, everybody and their anointing, as they say. And this is obviously your anointing, you know, and that's why we back you.
Thank you.
This is an amazing platform. It's all about what Crusaders Against Corruption is about. It's advocacy, educating, training, giving people a place where they can air their views, a safe environment, whether it's safe or not, because everybody's on it. But, you know, it's an amazing forum, and we want to thank God for giving us this opportunity, and all the many guests that you've had, the topics that have brought. You know, let me tell you something. I am sure that the elections went the way it was because of civil society organizations like Crusaders and, you know, this forum, XYZ TV, and all the other media stations that are giving people the right to reply, the voice to air, to express the, you know. But I think it's wonderful. Great. And this is just the beginning.
Great. Thank you so much. So I want to say a big thank you to my guests, and I want to thank each and every guest that has been part of this year's journey. I also want to thank you, the viewer, because but for you, it wouldn't have been. I know individuals, just like Edwina sent in a message talking about herself and her grandma. I know individuals who watched Monday's episode and still be glued to Wednesday's repetition of it, just to learn and refresh their minds. Thank you so much. I also want to thank, when I mentioned their names earlier on, there are some names I forgot to say, but the truth is, I can't mention everyone's name. I want to thank individuals who do not even work with XYZ, but took it upon themselves to promote this platform. You have no idea. Colleagues at Multimedia, and I mean, you can think about all the other stations, Ghana Web and the rest. And I want to specifically thank my own brother, PSA. PSA, I know you are doing the watching. PSA has been such a fantastic person behind the scene. He works with XYZ, and he makes sure that the platform goes as wide as we can imagine. I want to thank Isaac Asari, who has been doing all our graphic works for us. He's such a fantastic person. Our team in Osu here, Osu we day. I want to thank each and every one of you. God's love, thank you so much. Of course, you told me that your party has lost, so there won't be any Christmas this year, but trust me, there's still going to be Christmas this year. Thank you so much, God's love. And finally, something happened, and I want to share with you. I have this very good friend of mine. He's an MPP guy. He's called Evans Nimako. I'm sure you've heard the name before. He's actually the director of elections for the NPP. He's been a good friend. We've been so long. Can you imagine last week I met Evans in town, and I stopped my car just to say hello to Evans, and he started abusing me verbally. Evans, I still love you. Don't worry. No matter what you do, you are still my brother. You can insult me. You can do whatever you want to do, but you are still my brother. Thank you. The emotions. I mean, I couldn't believe that. Exactly. So, Evans Nimako, don't worry. Let us protect the two-third majority. That's very, very important. And if for nothing at all, let's remember what has been said here. Stability releases ability, not just in the political setting, but in every aspect of your life. Such a solid and profound statement coming from my guest, Bishop Dr. Susanity. Doctor, thank you so much. Dr. Pierre, thank you so much. Yeah. Bishop, thank you so much. It's such a privilege. It's such a privilege. All too soon, this is where time will allow us. My team, I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. Ralph, thank you too. Thank you so much. This show is going to be repeated this coming Wednesday at exactly 11 a.m. Till we meet again next year, God willing. All I can say is that Merry Christmas, and we love you so much. Happy New Year. Good night and enjoy the Christmas holidays.